Hey everybody and welcome back to Jim's Garage. It's been an eventful 24 hours with my first guideline strike on YouTube, but anyway, let's get on to this one. In this video I'm going to show you how I'm doing high availability in OPNSense the wrong way. What do I mean by the wrong way? Well, you're supposed to have two instances of OPNSense and you're supposed to have two WAN connections with two different ISPs. Now, I'm foregoing that because I've got my MSO1 cluster and I'm hoping to take full advantage of HA within Proxmox using my Ceph, or you could use something like an external ZFS or NAS, and I'm hoping that given the homogenous setup, i.e. every single network adapter on that is assigned to be exactly the same, all the wires are aligned within my switches with the same ports and VLANs assigned to them. I'm hoping that when one node goes down, it will seamlessly migrate because of that Ceph over to another node and hopefully maintain connection. I've theory crafted this all out in my head prior to this video, but this will be a live recording of the first time I try and migrate it. So fingers crossed this goes to plan, otherwise I don't know what I'm going to do. Anyway, for your viewing pleasure, you're going to get to see that. Let's get into it. So the first thing I need to tell you about is the update I've done to my network. Now, I've kind of foregone with the link aggregation, which I mentioned before, just to keep things simple. I might revisit that again in the future, but this is kind of how I'm going to attempt to do this OPNSense HA. So let's have a quick dive into the diagram. So the first thing you'll notice at the bottom is I'm still leveraging this switch down here. Now I'm doing that to split out my 2 gigabit fiber into 3 respective RJ45 ports. I'm doing that just to begin with to keep things really simple. So each machine of these MSO1s is set up to be identical. That means on each of those machines, all of the network ports have been given the same virtual bridge. They're identical across all of them. The benefit of that is I can go onto each OPNSense, or well, on the OPNSense VM, I've simply specified VMBR 3 and 2, I think it is, as I've got it set up. And I've made sure that VMBR 3 and 2 are the same on every single machine. Now, because all of the ports are identical, and they're all tagged identically into the switch, and the switch has all of the exact VLANs, hopefully it should be able to pick up these VLANs on here, and everything should work. So, for example, at the moment, let's pretend OPNSense is on here. If this node should fail, or I want to migrate it manually, it should be able to fail over to here. Because I've got Ceph, all of the data for the firewall is replicated in real time. So it should simply need to move the configuration from here to here. And because all of those virtual bridges are identical, when it tries to pick up VMBR 2 and 3, it should be exactly the same on here with exactly the same wiring back into the switch. Now, this is a little bit wasteful, and in the future I'm going to have a look at removing the switch altogether and actually plugging this fiber straight into this switch up here, and again just using VLANs to send my internet through a VLAN into OPNSense. And with any luck, I should be able to simplify this diagram, and I'll post that in another video if and when I go down that route. But like I say, I'm just trying to keep this simple for now because I've no idea whether this OPNSense HA will work. So now I've specified how I'm going to do that, let's have a quick look in Proxmox to give you a demonstration of what I just said. Okay, so over in Proxmox, remember I've got the 3 nodes. These are all identical MSO1s. This should work with any 3 devices you've got, provided that you have the same network setup. So if I look at my current firewall, which should be on Dawn here, I've created OPNSense. This is the one that's running. And as you can see here, it's running VMBR 2 and 3. I can't remember exactly which one is which, but one's the LAN and one's the WAN. Now, the important thing is if I click on this node here, remember we're interested in 2 and 3. If I click on this node here and go to the network, you can see that 2 and 3 are assigned to EMP89S0 and this long one here. And one thing I've been doing recently is, let me just zoom out. I've actually been adding comments to all of the ports. One of the most annoying things when you first set something up on Proxmox is you don't know which virtual bridge is assigned to which NIC. Ethtool can help you out, and I've demoed that in previous videos, but once you've done that, I strongly recommend you writing it down as a comment on your network page. Plus, if you want to take the nuclear option like I've done for my migration, I've actually written on top of my MSO1s and some permanent marker for which ones they are. So now that we've seen this, and again, VMBR 2 and 3, I'm going to click onto this other node here, Abaddon. Hopefully what you see on screen is exactly the same. So clicking on that, the only difference there was whether it's VLAN aware. That's not too much of an issue for what we're using. But as you can see, 2 and 3 are exactly the same. And for true HA across all my nodes, I'll click on my final node down here, and yeah, that's exactly the same again. Some of them aren't VLAN aware, and I'll have to change that before I go through to this video, so good job I checked. I'll need to make these obviously VLAN aware, because we're going to be having, especially for this one, this is going to be the firewall LAN. That's going to need to be VLAN aware. So I'm going to go and rectify that quickly now, and I'll see you in a minute. So a quick edit, and now all 3 nodes have VMBR3 set to being VLAN aware. So we've taken care of that, and we've made sure that now all of the nodes are matched up in their networking. The next thing I've done, and this is kind of optional, you don't need to do this, and there's more than one way to do HA within Proxmox. I've been running my Proxmox using Ceph, and you can see here that I've got a few machines now on here, and it's consistently running at about 1.33 1 megabyte per second. And if we have a look at my disks, you can see that, let me zoom out, I've got 32% wear on here. I had 31% a few weeks ago when I first did this, so actually I don't know how close it was to 32, but if I fag packet maths this, it's about 6 or 7 years I'm probably going to get out of my drives, which I'm more than happy with. Obviously, the more devices I put onto here, the quicker that will wear out. But anyway, don't want to digress too much. So the one thing I've done now is on my OPNSense was I was going to change this hard disk by going to disk action and then moving the storage. I could move that now to my VM disk, which is my Ceph pool. Now that works fine for a hard disk that exists already, but because I've set this up as a Q35 with pre-enrolled keys, which I shouldn't have done, don't need to do this, I don't need secure boot on OPNSense. Unfortunately, you can't move an EFI disk for a machine that's currently running. You get an issue with it's not having the proper size allocation. So unfortunately, and I didn't want to do too much jiggery pokery, I don't want to turn off my only firewall rule, plug in and go through the command line and change this. It was quicker to go onto Abaddon, create a new virtual machine, OPNSense HA, not quite HA, but the way I'm going to achieve HA, fingers crossed. And I've basically replicated this machine. Ignore that I put VMBR 0 and 2. It should be 3 and 2, and I'll change that in a minute. The reason I had 0 and 2 is because I assigned 0 to one of the RJ45 ports, so I can plug this machine I'm currently talking to you on directly into the firewall and restore the config from this machine onto this firewall. So I will change that to 3 now for the LAN and when we do this test in a minute. But do note that this has exactly the same configuration as this one here. So I'm hoping it will be a seamless transition. You'll also notice here that I don't have any EFI disks, and the hard disk here is already set to be VM disks. So when I fire up this machine, it's going to be taking advantage of my Ceph. What's actually quite interesting is when I performed an update on OPNSense, this one, because it's running on that fast local disk, which is an NVMe drive, it did the update in a few seconds. This one on OPNSense HA using Ceph, I would say it probably took 2 to 3 minutes to update. So there is a massive performance difference when it's writing to a local disk versus writing to Ceph. However, I did also do some speed tests while doing this, and the Ceph storage had 0 impact on its actual throughput. So I think that's a happy trade-off. The update, I don't care if it takes a little bit too long. What I really care about is the raw performance. And from the testing that I've done, albeit limited, and I'll do some more at the end of this video, it seems to have parity. So let's have a look at this OPNSense HA compared to the other OPNSense, and you can see that net 2, you can see that net 0 is VMBR3 and net 1 is VMBR2. So I'm going to make sure that I match those up. So net 0 on here needs to be 3 and the other one needs to be 2. I'll change that now. Okay, so now those are changed. I now actually need to make some alterations on the layer 1. So I actually need to plug in now to make sure that I have this diagram. At the moment, I don't have the additional WANs going into these other MSO1s, and I also don't have the VM trunks going into the switch. I have all the ports configured already on here. So for example, probably going to get this wrong. That one's going to allow all traffic. This one is currently, you see the little pointy arrow, that's going into OPNSense. By the end of this video, and you can see here that that one's none as well. And I think I set 5 to be none as well. Yeah, I did. That's just because 6 is my VLAN, port 6, VLAN 6 for my FreeNAS or TrueNAS. So what I'm going to do is change all these 3, and I'm going to plug these 3 into the MSO1, and I'm going to plug that into this LAN point. So this will be the right hand side X710 port. And then on the other one, I'm going to plug the left hand RJ45 into my switch. So when a VM, say, is on this machine, yes, these will be kind of wasted ports, but at the moment I don't need them. Like I say, with VLANs, I can make a more elegant solution in the future. I just want to do a proof of concept that this works. So I'm now going to plug everything in, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so heading now to the back of my MSO1s. Don't worry, for those with OCD, this is not its final resting place. This is its final hopeful test bench. As you can see on the left, there's my first MSO1. Both of the X10s are populated, and only the left hand side of the RJ45 is. That there with the fan on is my my internet. You can see the thin white one with the green, that's the fiber going into the switch. And then you've got the 3 RJ45s, those 2 black and 1 white, which are the respective internets coming out, which go into this one here with exactly the same setup, and this one here. You can also see my nuclear option of labeling on the top of the MSO1s. That'll be really handy for when I actually move these onto the rack up here. They're going to sit on some shelf that I've cleared out. And up here you can see obviously the switch, my 48 port, that's going into the 10 gig port, and then the 8 now are populated, all going into my MSO1s and various devices. Okay, so I've just sat back down. I've had a quick look at everything. Now I've been fiddling with those cables. All of the nodes still appear to be responding, which is good because I've changed VMBR0, which was the RJ45, to now go as a VLAN over the X710 port. So all of that's working. Now I'm actually getting on to the interesting bit. So I'm just going to load up, say, what a horrible story. I'm going to load up the BBC News, and fingers crossed, now when I fail over my firewall, I'm hoping that it's going to come up. So just a reminder, I'm actually going to be turning off my current firewall, which is this one here, and I'm going to be turning on this one here. Now this is always risky business because if I can't get this one back up, I'm going to be in a bit of a sticky situation. Now I have on this one made sure that on options it will restart at boot, so worst case I can shut this one down and turn it on and it should fix everything. And this one I haven't started at boot. Oh, and this one I've also started at boot, but I'm hoping it will take over in case of any errors. So now with everything matched up, I'm going to click to start this firewall and then quickly turn off this firewall because I don't want broadcast storms across my network, and fingers crossed we should still have internet. So I'm going to run a ping at the same time, and hopefully this will be able to seamlessly fail over. So let's start pinging google.com. Actually, I'll do 1.1.1 because DNS is probably going to get a bit funky. So that's going away and pinging in the background. I forgot to add the -t flag, so that didn't continue. So that's now going ahead and pinging. So let's do this. Fingers crossed, everything crossed. Let's do it now. So OPNSense HA, let's start it up. Quickly OPNSense here, let's shut down. So that's now kind of broken my network, and let's see what's happening in the background. That's still pinging. I still have internet access. No, I no longer have internet access. That's now broken, as you can see at the top. The pings are now timing out. But hopefully this is going to fail over anytime soon. Oh, we've got pings back. That sounds good. Yes, okay. Okay, so hopefully I can get back into Proxmox if I refresh. Yes. The old one is down. New one is up. This could be working, guys. So I'm going to take a breather here, and I'm just going to do a bit of checking in the background just to make sure that this one here is working. Let me just do a quick speed test. That took a little bit of time. I don't know if that's just because it's having to fail over on my Kubernetes cluster and re-download Pi-hole. Not sure. Two megabits per second doesn't look right. Let's give it time. That's looking a bit better. Bear in mind that this is only a 1 gig connection on this machine. I'll have to log on to something else for a faster one. 840, okay, not perfect. Let me go on to a different virtual machine now. So this is a virtual machine I've spun up just for doing testing and things. So let me run a fast.com on here. This one's running over the 10 gig network. Let's see what I can get on here. Again, this isn't as fast as it was. I don't know if it's doing some things in the background. Hopefully that will settle out. This should max out at about 2 gigabit per second. Or it certainly did previously. 1.7, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, 1.9. Alright, 1.7. Feels like it's doing some stuff in the background. Maybe if I do it again, it'll be a bit quicker. I also need to make sure that I enabled ASPM, or sorry, disabled that, the active state power management on the MS01 BIOS. I definitely did that for the node I was on. I might have forgotten to do it on this one, so I might need to hop into the BIOS. But anyway, that's close enough for this. And I think now we can hopefully get on to the next bit of the exercise. So like I said now, let's have a look at the Ceph, what's happened there. Doesn't seem to have had a massive impact in terms of changing this and adding this virtual machine to the Ceph pool. Let's now try the bit that we've all been waiting for. Let's try and do that migration. So I'm going to make sure now that I go to the data center. Actually, before that, I'm going to turn off the options here and start at boot. I'm going to edit that and say no, just because I don't want that screwing anything up. Back into the data center, I'm going to go to HA, and I'm going to add, and what do we want? We want this one here. I want this max restart. One's fine. It always needs to be on the request state of started, so I always want this started, and I'm going to click add. So now that's on currently Abaddon. Let's see, once it starts it, will it actually change that machine? And again, just in case, we've still got the ping running in the background. So now it says it's starting. Looks like it's still keeping it on Abaddon, and that's fine. So yeah, it decided obviously that the resources were fine to do that. So I'm actually going to now click HA, and I'm going to click to migrate this. So if you have a look on here, I'll put it on Sanguinius. Sanguinius hasn't ever had OPNSense on it. So let's click that, and let's click migrate. It can't migrate a VM with a local CD DVD. Okay. Let's go to the hardware and let's remove that. I think I need to reboot that for it to remove it. Can I click migrate again? No, okay. Well, I'm going to have to shut this machine down, remove that, and then turn it back on again. So I might need to fail back over to this OPNSense so that I don't lock myself out. Shut this one down, remove it, then fire it back up again. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so just quickly, you can see there I failed back over. It's actually crazy fast how quick it is, just one ping timed out. So now you can see that that's been removed because it's shut down. So I'll show you that again in real time. Let's quickly start this one up, the HA one, and we'll shut this one down. Again, those pings are going, and the beauty here is because it's got the same MAC addresses within the virtual machine as well, that plays nicely with my ONT fiber stick. That was one of the sticking points. I think here you can see the ping has timed out. Hopefully this one should be firing up any time now. Seems like this one takes a little bit longer to spin up than this one does. But note that one's now showing as back up, and yeah, we're back in. So that took a little bit longer, but never mind. So now hopefully I can go to OPNSense HA and hit migrate. Maybe it's to do with my snapshots. So let's go into the snapshots and let's remove those. So now the snapshots are removed because those snapshots will have had the disk in there. Can I now migrate? Oh yes, I can. Right, so let's now do Sanguineous and let's click migrate. That's happening in the background. So I would expect maybe one ping to drop here. Let's have a look. Yep, looks like a ping has dropped there. That looks to have migrated the background, and we're back up and running. So let's do a quick speed test. What's it doing in the background? Do other services work? No, not just yet. But the pings are going through, so I'm happy with that. This is probably just a DNS issue locally, and I can rejig that. Main thing is I am pinging the internet with 1.1.1.1, so I know I am connected. I'm going to quickly debug that in the background, and I'll come back and tell you what I did. Okay, so whatever it was, I think just a little quirk with getting it up and running. I didn't actually do anything. I logged into a few things, checked things, and everything started to resolve magically. So I was just going to do another speed test now. For some reason, I think fast is being cached and blocked. Again, I'm getting pretty much the same speeds as before, which is great. Now, if I hop into my little VM, which has got the 10 gig, hopefully I should see some similar speeds. So over on the VM, let's try that same server. Let's hit go. Let's see what we can get. So yeah, straight up now, basically hitting that 2 gig. So brilliant. Genuinely, I'm so happy that that worked. Again, as I talked about on the diagram, this isn't the most elegant solution for now. I'm going to have a look at putting my internet through a VLAN, which should help to tidy this up a little bit. But I'm really glad now that I've got an HA firewall, HA OPNSense effectively, across all of my MSO1s. So I can basically now have 2 of those nodes fail, and I'll still have internet access, which is great. And not just failure when I'm doing maintenance on one of those devices, i.e. I want to update Proxmox, change the kernel, change some hardware, all of that stuff. I should simply be able to power down, and it will magically spin that up now onto a new virtual machine. Sorry, a new MSO1. That took a long time to get through. Thanks for sticking with me. Let me know if this is something that you're now going to play with. I think this is a cool setup, and I'm really happy with the outcome. Anyway, if you've liked this video, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.